how do you make sure that you're not taking on too much? Like, do you have a process where you look at your vision and then reverse engineer it so that you know? Or how do you do it?
I won't take on anything that doesn't have an end date. I think the key for people is you have to actually look at the real pet in front of you, and you have to enjoy interacting with that pet, and you have to enjoy interacting with that actual person. And if you do that, you're going to be happy as a veterinarian.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 1 of the Veterinary Leader Podcast, brought to you by Companion Pet Partners. I'm your host, Dr. Kate Elden, and I'm so glad you're here. At Companion, we're passionate about growing leaders, and that's what this podcast is all about. Whether you're an associate veterinarian leading your team in a busy hospital, a practice owner or medical director leading a large, diverse team, or maybe you're in industry, policy, or operations, this podcast is for you. You're going to hear real conversations with leaders across our industry who are shaping the future of veterinary care. Our hope is that these conversations challenge and inspire you in your role as a veterinary professional. Now, before we get started, I want to ask you a big favor. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast. It's a really simple way to let us know you want to hear more of these conversations, and it'll help us reach more people. All right, are you ready? Let's dive in.
I'm going to be presenting in a couple of days at to our larger group of leaders within Companion. And one thing I wanted to open the door for us to talk about that you just covered is this idea as veterinarians, we're leaders inside of our hospital. You know, we've got our CSRs, and like you said, kennel assistants, maybe they're aspiring veterinarians one day. We've got associate veterinarians. Some of our staff and technicians have been in the industry for 30 years and up. And then outside of our clinic walls, we're leading our clients and our patients and their families, and then the community even. I mean, this happened to me the other day in our neighborhood. Somebody saw a coyote run across the street, and I'm on a neighborhood chat. And within like 12 hours, I had 8 messages from different people in the community asking me, Kate, am I going to get rabies from this coyote? Oh, can I let my kids play outside? Is it safe? Do coyotes eat children? Oh, do I need to keep my cat indoors? Can I still walk my little dog? How little is a little dog? And I was just like, oh my gosh. I asked my husband, I was like, do people think I'm a coyote expert all of a sudden? And he was like, no, you're a veterinarian. People expect you to know these things. And it made me reflect. I even reflected on the oath. You know, I solemnly swear to use my scientific skills and knowledge for the benefit of society, and so on and so on. And it just made me think, oh, society, wow, we're leaders in the community. So veterinarians are leaders inside the hospital walls with this like broad range of people. And then we're leaders outside with families and patients. And then we're also leaders in our community. I'm just like, that's a lot of impact that we have when you really think about it. And I mean, it's a lot of responsibility. And, you know, it's just kind of a beautiful thing that we don't often think about. And a lot of us, whether you're a medical director or an associate veterinarian leading a team, I don't know that we pause to think about that often, to think about like what you just said. You step back and you look around and you've got like a lot of impact opportunity to have.
Oh, yeah. You know? It really does come down to what do you want. There's way more opportunity than you're going to have time for. But it is a lot about being intentional with your time. And I think that is a hugely important leadership skill. It's just being intentional about what you're going to do. I mean, one of the things that really screws up a lot of veterinarians is they allow other people to dictate what the priorities are, you know?
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean is, I talk about red dots is something that I've sort of talked about for years. So imagine an organization that you're a part of. Like, so just say that when you're not at the vet clinic, you're you play pickup basketball, or you're in bridge club or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every organization, including the vet clinic, is set up in the same way in my experience, right? I picture a bullseye. So there's like a red dot in the middle and a yellow ring and a green ring.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're participating in something, there's a green ring around the outside, and about 75 to 80% of people kind of fall into this ring. And this is the people who show up and take advantage of the thing that's going on. So
Okay.
if we're playing pickup basketball, they show up ready to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we have card game night, they show up ready to play cards. Like that's what it is.
Right.
If you're running a kids soccer league, they drop their kids off. Like that's it. There's a green ring.
Okay.
The yellow ring is the people who, if you ask them to do something, then they'll do it. Hey, could you bring orange slices for the kids?
Mm-hmm.
Could you bring Gatorade?
Yeah.
Hey, could you book the basketball court so that we could play? Hey, could you pick out a book for the book of the month group and lead the next session? Right? Those are yellow ring people, and that's about 10 to 15% of people, and that leaves about 5 to 10% of people in the red dot, and those are red dot people. And the red dot people are the people who decide, you know what, we should have a bridge club.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, we
They're
should play
creating.
basketball. They are the ones who said, hey, you know what, we should have a nature club in our neighborhood, and we should have a garden club. Like whatever the thing is, they're like, we should have this.
We
And
should
they-
create a podcast about veterinary leadership.
We should start a podcast about veterinary leadership.
Yes.
And I'll invite people, and this should exist. Those are the red dot people. Okay?
Yeah.
So those are what red dot is. Now, the problem for a lot of leaders is, for most people, it's a bullseye. And one thing I want people to remember what the bullseye is, the bullseye is amoral, meaning the red dot people are not better people than the green ring people. There's nothing wrong with taking your kid to dance and dropping them off and picking them up and going home, right? There's nothing wrong with going to the school and finding out what's going on at school.
Yeah.
So there's no morality. But the problem for certain types of people is the bullseye has this bad habit. It folds up into a funnel. And so you go to the school to find out what's going on, and then suddenly you're the president of the PTA. You know what I mean? It's like you slip, and then the next thing you know is you are the one. It's because of how we're wired. We say, this could be better, this could be important, this could be meaningful, and I have the ability to do it.
Yes.
Have you heard that saying, if you want to get something done, find a busy person and give it to them?
I think about that all the time.
sucks.
Sometimes I seek out the busy person.
It's awful. It's if you're the busy person, it's terrible. Because everybody's like, here, take my thing. And like, they think it's great. It's like, find a busy person and give it to them.
You seem like someone who can get things done. Let me give you one more thing to do.
Let me give you another thing to do. Okay, cool. And so I will say to people, how are your red dots looking? Right? Because here's the thing. You've only got so much time in a day. And so when I lecture on this, I'll put up a picture of my wife and my 2 daughters, and then I'll say, great, so I'm here with you guys, and there'll be a red dot. And I say, and then we're going to go to the clinic, and then my neighbors want this, and somebody else wants this. And all these red dots get in the way, and you can't see my girls anymore. That's the problem with red dots, is some of us collect red dots, and we accumulate them.
Yeah.
And so red dots are priorities for people. Red dots are things that people pick up and they take on. And other people will always give you their priorities. Other people will always say, could you help out with this? Could you help out with that? Could you stay late? Could you make an exception for this? Could you step in and do this thing? Could you lead this thing? Oh, you're so good. Could you talk to this person? And all of those things are red dots. And they're not trying to be manipulative, like they're finding a busy person and giving their thing. And so all that to come back around and say, be mindful of the fact that other people want to give you their priorities. They want you to take the red dot because you'll do a great job with it, and they don't have to do it, And don't mean it in a negative way, but that's just kind of how it happens. And so you have to be intentional, because you're right. We said that we were going to support society. That does not mean that I am going to do everything that anyone in society asks me to do. And so Kate? How are you going to support society in a way that makes the impact that you think is important, and that is sustainable for you, and that is acceptable for your family, who also wants your time and your attention, and that works with your career goals, your spiritual goals, your community goals, your hobby goals, all of those things. And so life is really about balance and balancing those things. And like, what am I doing for myself? What am I doing, for my body as far as, being active, exercising, take care of myself? What am I doing for my kids? What am I doing for my partner? What am I doing, for my spiritual life? And then what am I doing for my practice management partner? What am I doing for my veterinarians? What am I doing for upper leadership that is asking me? You cannot make everybody happy. Mm-hmm. And so your goal should not be to make everybody happy. That's the road to ruin. It should be, can you strike a balance between
Keep your
those
red dots
things?
in order.
Exactly right. And you've got it. And there's nothing wrong with, and I try to really convince people of this. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, guys, I'm not going to be able to be the president of the car club at the beginning of next year. I'm going to have to step down. I will help somebody, but I'm going to need to step out of this role. And people, that blows some of their minds. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not going to be the point person for the salsa society. I'm just going to show up and dance. And then I'm going to leave.
As far as advice for people in leadership, and maybe some people that are thinking about all these things, like an associate veterinarian or someone who feels like they're a relatively new grad, but is thinking about stepping into a leadership role and just worried that they're not going to be able to keep all these red dots up in the air. How do you make sure that you're not taking on too much? Like, do you have a process where you look at your vision and then reverse engineer it so that or how do you do it?
One of the big things for me is if I'm going to take something on, I won't take on anything that doesn't have an end date, mm-hmm. right? And so if people say, Andy, will you come and be the president of this? I will say, is this a 1-year commitment? Like, what is the term mm-hmm. on this? And or people say, come and be on this advisory board. And it's amazing how many advisory boards are just forever until you die, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is the term?
Commitment.
Yeah, what is the term?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so don't do that. So I really try to nail down, there should be some exit ramps for me. I say, I'll do this for a little bit, or I'll help you. I really try to not go straight to, let me run this for you. I really try to say, let me know what you need and how I can help you. And so that's been something else I've gotten a lot better at is, what exactly do you need from me? What is the ask?
You try to get that defined.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I try to get the defined, what is my role? What do you need from me? What are you asking me for? Mm-hmm. And again, that's just slowing down and asking a couple of questions. That's a big one. The other big thing, and I found this very freeing, is one is you have to believe what I said about the bullseye does not have morality. You have to be okay with saying, I have led this, and mm-hmm. now it's my time to sit back, and I will happily help someone else.
So but sometimes it's okay to just drop my kids off at the soccer game and
absolutely.
Not volunteer.
Yes. And it's okay. It's okay when, exactly right. And it's okay also when you have been volunteering and then you say, hey guys, I'm not going to be able to do this. And they say, who else will do it?
Yeah.
It is okay to say, I will help you look for someone.
Do you do that in your hospital as a leader in your hospital and sometimes hand over things to your team members where, maybe it's, okay, we're going to do a team building activity and you hand that off to somebody else?
For God's sake, yes.
You don't have to do it all.
Oh, you don't have to. You shouldn't do it all. There's too much work to do. That's effective delegation. And mm-hmm. one of the things I think that leaders really don't get, and we talk about, we'll talk in the companion group coming up before long, we'll talk about delegation. The biggest thing about delegation that people do not understand and it blows up in their face is it is a big energy and time expenditure to delegate. Which means if you're working really hard and you're like, I'm going to delegate this away, you now basically have to do the job while you train someone else to do the job. And then you have to have them do the job while you watch them do the job. Oversee it. And you're probably going to have to fix mistakes that they're going to make. But I see people all the time, they say, I'm going to delegate, and they hand these things away. And then the person makes a mistake and they go, and they just take it right back. And I'm like, now you wasted all that time and you've just taken it back and you haven't effectively delegated. Or they don't delegate until they're burning out. And then they try to delegate, but the extra effort it takes to train the person is more than they can bear because they're already burned out. Mm-hmm. And now you're a burned out person taking on extra work trying to delegate. And so all of that to come back around to say, heck yeah, is the answer. And That's delegation. And don't wait until you're burned out and overwhelmed to start giving things to other people. That needs to be a constant process. You need to be constantly giving things away. And the last thing I'll say is this, is people will say, they're like, how to make my team feel appreciated? And I'm like, I'll tell you how not to, is you go around and thank everybody all the time, because there's only one of you. There's all of them. You need to work with the team collaboratively to get them to appreciate each other and celebrate each other. And then they're all validating each other, appreciating each other, supporting each other, and you're just coming in and doing something.
You're not the one doing it.
And again, they're getting the validation and the appreciation they need. They can't all come from you. We've got to work this out so that everybody is taking care of each other, collaborating with each other, supporting each other. Again, you cannot wait until your back's against the wall to make that happen. And so that should be how you're functioning all the time as a leader. You should always be delegating. You should always be training. You should always be empowering the team to take care of each other.
It makes so much sense hearing you say that, and yet when I was leading our hospital as a medical director, I somehow felt like I had to do it all. Why is that? Why is that our natural tendency? You come in and you want to just take charge, and what is that about us leaders?
So, some of it
Have you ever done that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yes. One of the things that I struggle with is I feel this weight on my shoulders of I am the one who has to fix this. I am the one who has to figure this out. And I will never forget people in my team saying to me, you don't have to do all this. Like, we've got this.
Yeah.
And I remembered the relief that came over me when I was so tired and I was working so hard. And they were like, hey, we've got this. Like, we can do this. But they had to know me to the place that they could say that to me, and it took a long time for me to get to that point.
We said this a couple times today. Veterinary medicine is a team sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is. I think another part of it is the team looks to you. They look to you and they say, well, what is the answer? And they want you to be able to provide it to them. There's this thing, it's called the Karpman Drama Triangle, Karpman, Karpman Drama Triangle. And so basically, we'll talk about interpersonal conflict for a second. And in the Karpman Drama Triangle, it says that there's 3 roles in conflict, right? There's a hero, there's a villain, and there's a victim, okay? So whenever we have conflict, there's a victim as the person who is wronged. Something bad happened.
The one who's getting blamed.
They're getting picked on for whatever reason.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And then there's the villain. And the villain is the dastardly person who is doing this to the victim, right? They're the one who's giving the victim a hard time. They're the one who is being mean to this person or whatever, right? And the hero is the person who vanquishes the villain and brings justice, right? That's how it is.
Yes.
So in the practice, what will happen is you're the medical director. The victim will come to you and they will say, the villain is doing this terrible thing. I need you to stop this. And they want you to be the hero. They want you to grab your cape.
And I want to be the hero.
And you want to be the hero.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be the hero. You don't want to be the hero. What you really want is you want the victim to be their own hero. Yes. You want the team to sort out their own problems. You want that person to advocate effectively back and to say, hey, look, this is not working for me. Let's figure out what's going on here, right? The villain's not really the villain. They're only the villain in the story that you're being told. I don't want to be the hero. But we're all told that that's what we want, and we think that we want to be hero, and we like to be the hero, and we like to be celebrated. Imagine if you were really Batman and you were great at your job. The Gotham City would never stop calling you. They would call you all. At some point, the police wouldn't even do. They'd be like, hey, some guy's speeding. Just call Batman. He'll just take care of it. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I also said today that people are simple animals. I mean, all of us. And we train people on how to behave. Kate, what happens to your team when every time they have a problem, they text you and you show up and fix it? What is the future for you?
Oh, man, I never get to go on vacation.
They will get faster at texting you.
Oh, yeah.
They will be faster at asking you to fix their problem. They're not bad. They just want the path of least resistance. And you are the path of least resistance. So we actually train the team to come to us faster and faster and faster and to problem solve. And ultimately what that ends up with is a medical leader who is constantly fighting fires, a medical leader who is constantly being the hero, a medical leader who is constantly responding to the desires and the requests of their team. And they're doing basically nothing proactively.
And the team's not problem solving themselves or talking to each other.
They're not problem solving. They have been trained by you that if they have a problem, they text you and you fix the problem. And that's the system that you have positively reinforced, and you've created that system. And I see medical directors living that life all the time. And we can get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
how do you change that? If you set that
if
you set that in the hospital.
So it depends on the specifics of the problem. But for the most part, what got you into this will also get you back out. Mm-hmm. You have got to positively reinforce a different system. And you have got to start to introduce what I call intentional friction. And so intentional friction is, I'm not a jerk. However, I may make myself less easy of a solution than I used to be. And so, like, at the minimum, what this looks like is something like, if the building is not actually burning down, if a patient is not in mortal danger, and you text me, I am not responding for at least 10 minutes.
Yes.
And then when I respond in 10 minutes, I'm going to say, I'm just getting to this. Do you still need me? Mm-hmm. And it is amazing. Oftentimes, if you wait 10 minutes, they will say, no, I asked someone else and they told me the answer. Great. You asked someone who's not on their day off? Wonderful. Novel idea. Thank you for that. And so
I like that.
But that's just an example of the type of thing of, I'm not going to hang you out to dry. But I'm not at your beck and intentional friction. I'm not at your beck and call. If you come to me and you say, Andy, where is the toilet paper? I would say, I don't know. Where does the toilet paper tend to live? In the supply closet. Did you look in the supply closet? No, I did not. And that sounds ridiculous, but that happens all the time, right? They'll say, Daniel is doing this thing and it's annoying me. Great. What have you said to Daniel so far?
Yeah.
And after a while, they're going to go, I should just, this is.
And then they're going to stop coming to you.
They're going to stop coming to me.
Because they're going to say, I know Dr. Andy's going to ask me if I've already tried to resolve this myself.
What have the first question he's going to say is, what have you done to resolve the situation?
Yeah.
And it is intentional friction, and they will roll their eyes. Mm-hmm. But they're going to slow down in how quickly they come to me. And over time, they'll stop rolling their eyes. It will just be the way that we are. And lo and behold, they will become self-sufficient. They will get comfortable solving their own problems. They will get comfortable advocating for themselves. They will get comfortable being problem solvers.
It's funny because in other areas of my life, I think about trying to remove friction, and this is one time where it makes sense to kind of add a little.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's really people take the path of least resistance, mm-hmm. and if bringing their problem to you is the path of least resistance, then they're going to do it. I mean, it's the same thing as when we raise our kids, and early there will be a phase where they're like, Mom, mm-hmm. Mom, 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 Dad, 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 Dad. And if we say, have you tried to put your shoes on yet yourself? All right, well, let's have you give it a try. And then if you still need help, then I'll help you.
Yes.
And that's it. But it is that analogy. And again, I don't mean that in a patronizing way with our employees, but that's how we all learn, all of us. We kind of have that natural tendency towards path of least resistance.
I'm thinking about right now and our leaders and kind of where the veterinary profession is at with our leaders. And what kind of advice do you have I feel like we're at a point where maybe it's just me, but during COVID, I think we lost a lot of our leadership demographic in veterinary medicine. And I don't know if that's just me speculating, but it feels that way, that we lost a lot of leaders. People that I know left veterinary medicine, and we've got a new generation of leaders coming into veterinary medicine, or people that are wanting to step into roles of leadership. What kind of advice or key takeaways or thoughts do you have about people that are maybe thinking about moving into a role of leadership, but are just not quite sure if that's something that they can do or want to do?
I think one of the best ways to start to do some leadership, or also if you are a leader and you were thinking about your own career and where you develop, I really like stretch assignments. And so stretch assignments are things that you may not get compensated for this, but it's an opportunity where they say, hey, we need somebody to kind of help with this, or to work on this thing, or to take the lead on this thing. And you say, I would be interested in trying that out for a while, right? This is not a long-term commitment. It's not an ongoing forever thing. It's just, hey, I see you guys and you're working on this marketing plan, or you're changing this system, or you're introducing, a new workflow into the practice. That's something I'm interested in. Would you be interested in having me help?
So dipping the toe in a little bit.
It's 100% dipping the toe in. It's not taking a new job. It's the same job that you have, but you're getting some opportunities to kind of work on a project, to see what it's really like, to be involved, to sit in some of the meetings, to have some of the discussions, to understand how decisions are kind of getting made, and to support. And if you like it, then, you can say, hey, I really like to do more things like this. And if you don't like it, you can say, well, I was really just here for this. This is the part that I was interested in, and we've sort of done this project. And so,
and you haven't pot committed yet.
And yeah, exactly right. And you haven't. But those sort of stretch assignments I really like, is to say, it's not necessarily a new job. It's not a new title. It's a fairly short-term commitment. But if there's any way I could be involved in this program or help out a little bit, I would like to do that. And you kind of have to show that initiative, and people say, well, I don't want to do that if I'm not going to get paid. And they go, well, I definitely understand that if it's ongoing. In the short term, if you're not sure that you want to do the job and they're not sure that you're right for the job, then a sort of a stretch assignment like this can be a good way to try things out for everybody. And again, it's not about this becoming your long-term job. This should be short-term, but it should be something that you can kind of try and see what you think, and they can kind of start to work with you and kind of see what they think.
I love that. Try something on, see if you like it, and then go from there. One thing that I want to ask you kind of in closing is, I think I want to make sure that at a grassroots level, our veterinarians are remembering to have fun, that our leaders are remembering to have fun in practice. And I think it's easy to forget day to day when we're seeing patients and going through things. What's one way that you are able to keep fun in your veterinary practice?
Oh, man.
Yeah. How do we keep veterinary medicine fun, Dr. Roark?
The simplest answer is to say that you have to set out to find it, right? Life is what you focus on. And I really believe that. Like, the things that you pay attention to, they will define your life. And if you focus on things that make you anxious and afraid, then your life will be full of anxiety and fear. And if you focus on loss and hardship, then your life will be defined by loss and hardship. If you focus on things that make you optimistic, then your life will be one of optimism. If you focus on the relationships that you have with the people that come into the practice, or the people you work with, then your life will be one of relationships. And I truly believe that that's kind of how all of this works. I focus on finding the things in practice that make me laugh. Like, I look for things that are funny. I actually started writing. I started doing social media back in the day at the very beginning, because I like to share humor, I like to share stories, and I like to share jokes. And how that helped me was, I was looking for these things. I started looking for the things that would make me chuckle or that I thought were funny. And as a result, my days were defined and full of things that were fun and funny.
So you didn't wait for it to come to you. You looked proactively.
You have to look for it. Yeah. You have to actually look for it. But it's funny, we develop a search image, like with anything. It's what are you looking for? What does a successful search mean? And for me, a successful search is something that makes me chuckle, or something that makes me laugh, or something that makes me smile, or something that makes me feel like this is worth doing.
Well, thank you, Dr. Roark. I really appreciate having you taking the time to come out and chat with us, both just today for our conference at Companion and for our podcast. So Thank you. We really look forward to the upcoming sessions that we're having with our leadership conference, and then getting to put some of these things that we've talked about today into action in our hospitals, and then coming back in that that follow-up and connecting with you and the Uncharted team to see what was working or
Yeah.
maybe what we want more information on.
Oh, definitely. Well, we've got, a 6-month program that we're doing with Companion, and we'll be working with these leaders and growing, developing them and trying things out and seeing how it works and circling back around. And we do sort of bite-sized learning along and along. It's just the beginning of what's going to be a really fun journey.
And I'm really looking forward to what your next decade or couple of decades look like.
Me too.
As it sounds like you might be having an empty nest coming up here soon. You get to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, like Lady Gaga.
That's right. Dr. Andy Roark, where can people find you online if they want to get more information about Uncharted or the things that you're doing?
Yeah, so it really depends on how you like to get your information. For Uncharted, we have a website. It's unchartedvet.com. And then we have the Uncharted Veterinary Podcast, which is, it is all leadership and management. And so we've been doing it for years, about 300 episodes where we take questions from our mailbag. And so people write and they say, this is going on my practice. What would you do about it? I have a doctor who's doing this thing. What would you do? And so Uncharted Veterinary Podcast. And you can also find that wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. There's a video version. And then for Dr. Andy Roark, I write a newsletter every Friday. If you go to drandyroark.com, you can see all the old ones, and then I'll write you a letter every Friday. And then I also have the Cone of Shame podcast, which is the podcast I do with different guests every week, and it's very much about the industry and practice in general. And so I have a lot of medical questions. I bring in a lot of specialists. I ask them about cases that I'm looking at, and I do a segment called "How do you treat that?" I'm like, I don't look at this. How do you treat that? And I ask the smartest people what they would do with this case. And I love it. And so that's called the Cone of Shame podcast. That is on YouTube, and it's also wherever you get your podcasts.
I was hoping you were going to forget the Cone of Shame podcast, because I love going to that podcast. And one of my favorite things is the image that you have of yourself and I love thinking about our pets when we put those cones on and what that feels like for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. And thanks again for coming on our podcast today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Veterinary Leader Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share it with your network. This helps us reach more people. And thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.